You can draw this in Procreate. Yes, we are going to create another isometric drawing. This time we are going to create this cozy coffee corner. During this Procreate isometric drawing tutorial, I will be guiding you through every single step, of course, just like I always do. We'll start out with a sketch, arranging all the elements, then we'll create our line art, and then we'll start adding some photo textures and our colors, and finally some lighting effects. It took me a long time to develop this tutorial. I think this might just become the longest you can draw this tutorial that I have ever made. So if you want me to continue creating these, if you want to support this channel, then you can do so by sharing this video, for instance. You can give a super thanks by hitting that icon underneath the video, or you can consider becoming a patron, of course. Now, once you have reached the end of this tutorial, which might take a while, this is a long video, you will feel super proud, be totally content, and I think you will want to share your work. If you are doing that on Instagram, then be sure to tag me in the image, not just in the description, because then I will be able to find your work and maybe we will see it in the next video. Just like these amazing results from my friends at Patreon. Like I said, you can become a patron to support this channel, but you will also get access to more than 100 Procreate tutorials, reaching from beginner level to more advanced levels. So it's the perfect place to satisfy your Procreate tutorial addiction. Before we get started with this tutorial, do be sure to grab a drink, maybe some snacks. We will be spending quite some time together, and make sure to set your canvas to 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. In the description you will find a link to the color palette, but also to some fonts and some pictures that we will be using. Everything is free, no worries. And also be sure to grab my free brushes if you haven't already. You can go to freefromflow.com and not just get more than 70 free brushes, but also my ebook about color theory. So now let's get started. Grab your pen or your finger, major respect if you are using your finger. And now let's set up our isometric grid. We need to go to the wrench, then to canvas, then turn on the drawing guide and go to edit drawing guide. Then here at the bottom, tap isometric. And then for the grid size, we will set it to 51 pixels. It's a weird number, I know, but that's just what I ended up with creating this isometric room. And tap done. And then I need to make sure that the grid is nice and visible for you. So I'm going to turn up the opacity a little bit. I'll set it to 70% and I'll set the color to a dark blue. You can set your opacity and your color or the thickness of your lines to anything, of course. Just do whatever you feel comfortable with. Now let's turn on assisted drawing so all of our lines will follow the grid, and then we can tap done. Then for our brush, I'm going to use the 6B pencil, which you can find under sketching in Procreate. It's a standard brush. And for the color, I'll just grab a dark gray. Doesn't really matter what color you use. And the opacity of this brush is at 100% and the size is at 40%. And we are going to start with the base of our room. First, let's go to the top, to the center of our canvas, and we'll go down 2 steps. So that's 1, 2. Then we are going to go in this direction and we are going to take 20 steps. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then we'll go down 20 steps as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then let's make a thin line starting here. I'm using very little pressure. So we'll just make a vertical line. And then we can extend this one towards that line. So we don't have to count anymore. Then we'll do the same over here, go towards the center, and we'll make a thicker line going up here. Then we can use this line, make it very thin, to extend it. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but just make a very thin line and then start here and move that line until you reach that very light line. Then you can make it thicker by going back to the center. This is just handy because now you don't have to count anymore. Of course you could count, or you can just make a thin line first and then make this intersect. And then move down to make it a little bit thicker. You can use the eraser to get rid of that. Not really necessary though. And over here, we'll extend our line a little bit. One square or one triangle. Then we'll move up to here, connect this, then we'll go towards the center. So we are giving some volume to the wall. We'll do the same over here. Connect this, and then towards the center. Now that we have the base of our room, it's time to draw the furniture. And we are going to do that on a new layer. So let's go to the layer menu, the two little squares. Let's tap the plus, and let's set this layer to assisted. You can see that this one is assisted. That means that all your lines follow the grid. We want that for this layer as well. So let's tap it and then turn on drawing assist. Now let's start by drawing a counter. Let me zoom in just a little bit. We are going to start by making a line that is 11 blocks. Let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It doesn't really matter where you start on your grid because we can move this counter around. And we'll move up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll go to the side about 2.5 like this. Then we'll go to the side here as well, 2.5, and then connect these two. Then we'll go up here, 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Then over here, we'll go to the side, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll go up here with a light line, and then we'll connect this one to this area. Then we'll go to the side with light lines, and we'll connect this one to that line. You can make this one a little bit darker. Then you can go up with a light line and then connect it here. Then we'll do the same over here with a light line and then connect this one to that line, and then you can make it a little bit darker. Then let's also make a light line like this. This is the glass section of our counter. Connect these. This one, go up, and this one. You know what? Let me lower the opacity of our room. Let's go to the layer menu, tap the N here, set it to 50%. So we are better able to see our furniture. Now I think the placement is about right. Let's go to the move and transform tool to play around with it. Let's place it, I think about here. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks between the counter and the wall, and over here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this looks good. Now let's tap the arrow to get out of here. And now let's create a sitting area over here. Let's do that on a new layer so we can move our furniture around. Let's tap the plus. Let's make sure that we set this to drawing assist. And then let's go. Let's start over here. Let's go 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over here, we'll go up 9.5 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. Over here, we'll go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll go in this direction 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. Then we'll move up until we reach that same point as that area, like this. And then we'll connect these two. Then we'll go in this direction 12 blocks. Let's start here because here we are at an intersection. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then we'll go up here 4 blocks and a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit. And then we'll connect these two. And we'll make a line here and connect it here. That's the top part. Then over here, we'll move 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. Then we'll make this one. And that's connecting over here. Then over here at the top, we'll make a little edge. Start here. And then we'll go in this direction and back. Eventually, we will add some plants there. Now let's move a little bit in this direction and then move down and also towards this area. Let's do the same over here. Little edge. And then we'll add another line here. And we'll go down a little bit to about here. And then we'll make a line like this. Then we'll do the same over here. So first we'll go up and then back towards the back. Then we'll add an extra line over here. Then we'll move in this direction and we'll go up here. Then we'll go from here to this area and we'll go in this direction and connect these lines. Then we'll add a little bit of volume here. We'll add a line like this, connected, go back in this direction, and then down here and back in this direction. This is a pillow, a big pillow. And we have these pillows here as well. And let's cut them in the center like this and like this. No worries, later in this process, you will be able to create a little screenshot of my line work, so you can always use that as a reference. So we have this little bench, this little sitting area. Now let's create some tables. Again, we'll create a new layer for that. So let's tap the plus and let's set this layer to Drawing Assist. And then we are going to create a table that is 3 by 3. So let's start here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just in all directions. Then we'll give it a little bit of volume. Let's go down half a block. Back in this direction, up here. Like this. Now we have the top of the table. Then let's move it around. Let's go to the Move and Transform tool. And let's make sure that there's an intersection right in the center of our table. So like this. Then we'll tap the arrow again. And then we'll go down 4 blocks. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll make a line right next to it over here and over here. And then we need a little circle at the bottom. We need a new layer for that again. So we'll go to the layer menu, then we'll tap the plus. And now we are going to create a circle. So just draw a circle, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle like this. Then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool, the little arrow, and make sure that it's set to distort. Let me turn off snapping here. And we are going to make this follow the grid. So drag these blue little handles and align the circle with the grid. So right now it's 3 by 3, just like the top of the table. We can move it around like this so that the center of the circle aligns with the center of the table. Then tap the arrow again. Then let's make it a little rounded shape here. And then let's merge these layers. Let's pinch them together like this. Then let's zoom out. And let's move this table around. Let's grab the arrow. And let's move it towards this sitting area. Now let's duplicate this table. So we'll go to the layer menu, the 2 little squares, slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to the Move and Transform tool and place another table over here. And we can use another table. So let's duplicate it again, go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to the Move and Transform tool and place it about here. And then tap the arrow again. All right, next up, we are going to create some chairs. But first, let's merge these table layers, pinch them together, And let's turn it off for now. So we have a little bit more space over here. Let's turn it off and then make a new layer, set it to drawing assist. And now we are going to create a chair. We only need to draw it once. We can just duplicate it then, just like we did with the tables. So let's get started. First, we are going to make a line of 2 blocks. 1, 2. Then we'll go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'll go to the side 2.5. 1, 2, 2.5. Go back up like this. Down like this. Then we'll go up 2.5. 1, 2, 2.5. Connect it here. Connect these. Make a line like this. And connect it with this one. Now we have this shape and we are going to use it as a guide for our chair. We are going to lower the opacity of this shape. Let's tap the N. Lower the opacity to, well, let's say 44%. Let's also turn off the other furniture layers. And let me move this around, just so we can focus on this chair. Then we'll make a new layer on top of this one by tapping the plus. Let's zoom in to focus on our chair. First, let's make a rounded shape for like the back of the chair. A curved shape like this. It's like a bit like a bean shape. Then the area on which you sit, it'll also be rounded. Rounded corners. Like this. And then we'll give it a little bit of volume. We'll make a line going down. Then back like this. So this way the chair has some volume. Then we'll make the legs. We'll start here. Make a line like this. Then down towards this corner. And we'll do the same over here. Line like this. Back to the corner. And one over here. This is still very basic. Let's give it some volume like this. This one as well. And this one. So this is a rough sketch of our chair. When we create the line art, we can make it more tidy, of course. So we have our chair. We can remove this layer with our guide for our chair. So let's remove that. Then let's turn on the other layers again. Now we are going to place our chair. Let's go to the Move and Transform tool. And let's place it over here. I can see that there's something else on this layer because our bounding box is not surrounding the chair. But it's not too bad. It's okay. Let's place it about here. Then go to the layer menu. And let's duplicate this layer. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate. Go to the Move and Transform tool and place this one over here near the other table. Then we'll duplicate it again, go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the Move and Transform tool and place this one over here. Then we'll duplicate it one more time, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the Move and Transform tool and flip it horizontal here at the bottom. And then move this one over here. Then tap the arrow again to get out of here. And then, well, what you can do to save layer space is merge these layers actually. Now let's make a new layer. Let's tap the plus. Let's set this to Drawing Assist again for some more furniture. We're going to work on this wall. We'll start about here and we'll go up 14 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Then we'll add some volume. We'll go towards the front a little bit and then make another line like this. Now let's turn off our counter for a minute. It's over here. Let's turn it off so it doesn't distract us. Then let's go towards this area, 6 blocks. Let's start with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then add a little bit of volume. So we'll start here and then connect this to that line. Then let's make a line, a thin line like this, so we can find where we need to stop for this line. We'll start here, move up to that area. Now I want to create a rounded shape at the top. Let's make a new layer to do that. Let's go to the layer menu, tap the plus, and then let's draw a circle. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle, and then go to the move and transform tool and make it follow the grid. Use this handle, move this down to make it follow the grid like this, and then place it like this. We can make it a little bit smaller. You can go to uniform, make the circle a bit smaller, so it's placed like this. Then let's go to the layer menu, the two little squares. Let's tap the N, lower the opacity of this layer. Then we'll go to this one over here where we already have that shape. Now we're going to follow this. Oh, first we need to turn off drawing assist. To go back to the layer, tap it, turn off drawing assist, and then follow that curve like this. Then we need that same curve, but from here to there. It should be about here. It starts there and then curves towards here. So let's go back to that circle, on layer 7. Let's go to the move and transform tool and place it here. Now we can use that as a guide as well. So go back to this layer and then follow that curve again, like this. And now that we have this, we can turn that circle off, or we can remove it like this. Slide to the left, tap delete. Now let's turn on drawing assist again here. So tap the layer, turn on drawing assist. Then we'll go up 6 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over here, we'll make a little shelf. Then we'll go in this direction towards the other edge. Make another line like this, and then connect these two. Then we'll go down a little bit for some volume. Connect it over here. Then we'll continue up. Here we were at 6. We'll go to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll make another shelf over here. It's a bit less deep. We'll go until this little intersection. We'll move in this direction. Go like this, and then connect these two. We'll add some volume like this. And then finally, one more. Let's place that about here. Go in this direction. Connect these two. Give it some volume. And now we have some nice looking shelves. Let's turn our counter back on. Now let's make a new layer again. Let's tap the plus. Let's set it to drawing assist. Surprise, surprise. And let's make a little thingy over here. I'm not sure what to call this, but you will see what it turns out to be. Okay, first we'll go up 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to the side 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go in this direction 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back up. Then we'll connect it over here and in this corner as well. I do feel like it's a bit too close to this wall thing. So let's move that a little bit. Let's go to layer 6, then go to the move and transform tool. And let's place that like over here. So it has a little bit of space in between. Then go back to layer 7. You're going to create some shelves. Let's make a line over here, just roughly. You don't have to count this. We'll make a line over here. So you'll also see the inside. Then we are going to turn off Drawing Assist. So we'll go to the layer menu, tap the layer, turn off Drawing Assist. And I want some rounded shapes over here. I'm not going to use a whole circle. I think we can eyeball this a little bit. So like this, and over here, another one. Now let's use this layer as a guide. Let's lower the opacity. So we'll tap the N, scroll to the left, slide to the left to like 51%, and make a new layer on top by tapping the plus and set this to Drawing Assist. Then we are going to make a shape over here. It's a little bit broader than the line we already have. You know what? Let's make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's set it to 10%. Make a line like this and one right next to it. And over here as well. Give it some volume. And here as well. And then let's make a little shelf over here. Oh, here we also have that vertical part. Make it connect. And over here. So here we have a little shelf, and we are going to make a smaller area inside of it like this. Then we'll do the same over here. So first we'll make this one. Here we have that vertical part. And then a smaller rectangular shape inside. And the same thing on top. You know what? Let's first make those rounded shapes. Let's turn off Drawing Assist. So you need to go to the layer menu, tap it, turn off Drawing Assist, and then let's make that rounded shape. First the top one, and then one right underneath. Over here as well, you have the top one, and one underneath. Then let's turn off Drawing Assist again. So we'll go to the layer menu, tap the layer, then turn on Drawing Assist, and let's make that top part. Smaller shape here. So it's something like this. Then let's zoom out. Let's check this out. We have all our big parts, I think. Let's start tidying this up a little bit. First, let's turn off Drawing Assist on all these layers because I want to be able to erase stuff easily without my eraser following the grid. So we'll tap these layers and turn off Drawing Assist. And now we are going to erase parts on layers. What do we have here? We have the counter. We don't have to erase anything there. For the bench we do. So let's go there, layer 3. And for our eraser, let's tap and hold it so that it switches to the 6B pencil. Now over here, we can erase the parts that are covered by the table, for instance. So right here, we are just going to clean up our rough sketch. That'll make it easier for us to create our line art later. So just erase these parts. Then over here, we can erase this. And this. Now let's move to the tables. They are on here. We can erase some parts from our tables where it's covered by the chair. So just go ahead and erase that. I can see we also have a little part of our bench there. So we can erase that later as well. So let's go back to that bench on layer 3. There we have it. Let's erase this part. That's easier to read. Now we need to erase a part of this thing. Where do we have it? Was it this layer? Yeah, layer 6 over here. Grab the eraser and erase the part here. Don't erase that part because this area of our counter is made of glass, so you will be able to see that. So just this area. Now that we have all our furniture, it's time to add the extra stuff. Let's first create a new layer on top of the others. Let's tap the plus. Let's set it to drawing assist. And you know what? To save layers, we can actually merge all the others, except for the bottom one. Let's pinch these together to save some space. And over here, we are going to continue creating stuff. For instance, we need a coffee machine. Now, actually, before we start drawing our coffee machine, let's first lower the opacity of our furniture. So let's go to the layer menu, tap the N here, set it to around 50% or 49, and then let's start drawing. Let's start about here. Make this 2 lines, 2 blocks wide, then go down towards this corner, and then in this direction until we almost reach the edge. Then we'll go up with a thin line and connect this. Then we'll go in this direction and connect these two. And over here, we'll go up a little bit, make a line like this and one like this. Make a thin line here so we'll know where we need to stop. Then over here, we'll go down a little bit, back in this direction. Back up, inward a little bit, and then down, and connect these two. We'll go in this direction and connect these, and then up here. So now we have a very basic coffee machine shape. Then let's move in this direction. Let's place a little sign here. Make a line like this. You don't have to calculate it exactly here. Just make a rectangular shape, add some depth like this. And over here, I would like to add a few frames or posters. Doesn't really matter what size you give them. Just make a nice variety. Give them some depth. Give it a little frame. Then over here, we might have a poster that doesn't have a frame. And here we can make a thinner one. Little frame. So something like this. And over here, we need the register. Let's make a line like this, then go upward over here as well. So something like this. Line in this direction. You don't have to count. You can just eyeball this a little bit. Then towards the front, upward a little bit, down here, and then connect these two. And then maybe a little rectangular shape here. Then over here, we might have some pots. So let's make small box shapes. Just like this, little box. And we'll make another box right next to it. Now let's turn off drawing assist to continue. Let's tap the layer, turn off drawing assist, and then let's add some extra to our coffee machine, like a little circle here, maybe another one here, maybe a little rectangle here. Then we have a shape like this here, a little rounded, and then in this direction we have a shape like this. Then over here we have that thing you can use to make that milk foam. So it's something like this. And then maybe on the counter there is a little notebook with some rings. Then over here there is some food. Let's make a shape like this. You can make some pastries, some sandwiches, whatever they are offering here in this coffee shop. One over here. Then over here, maybe some cinnamon rolls. So that's just like a swirly. One over here, which is covered a little bit by the other one. Maybe some muffins. A little shape like this with a little cup. And here we'll make a little chocolate croissant. So that's a bit shaped like this. Another one on top. So that looks nice. Then let's continue. Over here we need some pots. And let's just make a pot on a new layer first. Let's tap the plus. And then let's draw a circle. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle, then go to the Move and Transform tool, set it to distort, and make your circle follow the grid. For instance, 2 by 2. Then go to Uniform, let's make it a little bit smaller, and we are going to create a pot over here. Now let's duplicate the circle by going to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the Move and Transform tool. Then while it's set to uniform, make this one smaller and move it downward like this. Then we'll use this as a guide. So we'll make a new layer by tapping the plus. And then over here, we will create our pot. Well, let's lower the opacity of these two. Let's pinch them together. Just make sure you don't pinch any of the other layers, just these two ovals. Tap the N, slide to the left to make it more transparent, like 50%. And then on this layer, we are going to draw the pot. So follow that oval, then go downward a little bit, then make a line that's parallel to the top oval like this. And then create a shape like this following that bottom oval. So now we have a simple pot shape. Then let's remove this layer that we used as a guide, slide to the left, tap delete, then go to this one, and we are going to duplicate that one. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the Move and Transform tool, and make a smaller version. Have it set to uniform, place this one over here. And let's do this a few more times. Let's go back to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, place this one over here. We'll make it even smaller. Then we'll go back to the layer menu, duplicate this, then to the move and transform tool. And let's just place 3 pots here like that. Again, we'll duplicate this, go to the move and transform tool and place this one over here. Then let's merge these pots by pinching them together. Don't pinch them with anything else. Then go to the eraser and let's erase this, for instance. To make it a bit more readable, let's erase this. And now let's make another type of pot. So we'll make a new layer again to create a guide. We could have just used the guide that we already had, but well, we already erased that. Let's go to the brush, make a circle, hold your pen in place, then tap 1 finger on the screen, then go to the move and transform tool, set it to distort. At least we get some extra practice this way. Make it follow the grid, then go to uniform and make it smaller. Then we'll duplicate this, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, move it downward, make it smaller, like this. Then we'll pinch these together, then tap the end, lower the opacity, tap the plus for a new layer. Oh, not 2 times, just once. And then let's follow this grid. Not the grid, just the guide. These ovals. Make a rounded shape downward for just a little different type of pot. And we'll use that for the bottom shelf. Let's move it. Make it a little bit smaller. Like this. Then let's duplicate it. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, move and transform tool. Let's make it smaller even. And duplicate it again. And move it to here. Maybe a little bit smaller, something like this. Then we can pinch these together and we can remove that guide layer. And we can pinch these with the other pots as well. We are going in the right direction. Let's continue. I want a big pot over there. Let's make a new layer by tapping the plus and grab the brush. Make a circle, hold your pen in place, tap 1 finger on the screen, then go to the move and transform tool again, set it to distort, and make your circle follow the grid. So something like this. This is 4 by 4. Maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller. Let's go to uniform, then make it a bit smaller. Our little pot here, something like this. This will be the top of the pot. And now for the bottom, let's duplicate this layer. Go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool. Make this smaller. So the bottom of the pot will be here. Then go to the layer menu. Let's pinch these together. Then lower the opacity by tapping the N, slide to the left to around 50% and tap the plus. And then let's make a pot here. Let's follow our guide. This is the top. This is the front. Then we'll have another parallel line here. And here we have the bottom of the pot. Let's also give it some volume. Let's add another edge here and over here. We'll add the plant later. Then we can remove that grid. Not the grid, that guide, those 2 little ovals. Let's remove that layer by tapping delete. And next, let's make some coffee cups. Let's pinch these plant layers, those pot layers together. And let's make a new layer by tapping the plus. And now we are going to create some coffee. Again, we need a circle. Hold your pen in place, tap 1 finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle, then go to the move and transform tool, set it to distort. Make it follow the grid like this. Then let's duplicate this. So we'll go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, set it to uniform, and then move this up. Let's zoom in. This will be the top of our cup. This will be like the saucer. This is the top. Then we need to duplicate this. So we'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, and we'll go to the move and transform tool again and make this a little bit smaller for the bottom of our cup. So I guess something like this. Maybe even smaller. Then I want to duplicate that top one once more. So that's this one, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool and move this one downward a little bit. Make it a little bit smaller, like this. Now let's go to the eraser and erase this part. Because that's the inside, that's when there's coffee inside of the cup. So now let's use this as a guide. Let's go to the layer menu, let's pinch these together. And then let's lower the opacity. Let's tap the end, slide to the left to 50%, then tap the plus, and let's go. First we need to grab the brush, then we need to create a line like this towards that lower circle. Then we'll follow that oval here at the top. Now I want to duplicate this because maybe we can use this later. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, and turn this layer off and go back to this one. Then we'll create that saucer like this. So we have a basic cup now. Let's duplicate this as well. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, and then on this one, we'll also follow this line. So there's some coffee inside, and let's give it a little ear like this. Now, of course, this is a very big coffee. Let's make them smaller. We do need to select all three of them here, not the guide layer, just these three. We'll go to the move and transform tool. If it's set to uniform, let's move it here so we can get an idea. Let's make it smaller. Let's see, I think this would be about the size. Now let's go to the layer menu and remove that guide layer. We don't need that anymore. Let's slide to the left, tap delete, then grab this one. It doesn't have any coffee inside. Let's go to the move and transform tool and place it on one of the tables. This one over here. Then let's duplicate it again. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool and place it here. Then let's duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool and place it here. And then we need another one. Let's go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, and go to the move and transform tool and place it here. Then let's pinch these together, go to the layer menu, pinch them, and let's add some of these ears. For instance, over here. You don't want them all to look exactly the same. This one, perhaps that ear is on the other side, so you won't be able to see it. This one might be here. And maybe this one is on this side. So you can vary that a little bit, but they are all empty. The people are gone. There's no coffee inside of these cups. Now I want to go back to that duplicate coffee that we made. That's over here, layer 6. Let's turn it on. Let's move it around. And then let's give this an ear as well. Let's go to the brush. But I think we can hang this up, this little cup. Let's go to the move and transform tool. Let's rotate it by using this green handle. And let's make something to hang these cups on. Place this one here. Let's duplicate it, move and transform, move it here. Then let's duplicate it again. Go to the move and transform. Let's make 4 of these. Let's move it again, duplicate it, and move this one over here. Then let's just pinch these together, and let's use the eraser to erase these parts. So they are nicely covering each other. And then let's grab our brush and let's make these hooks. Just these S shapes. Then let's make a new layer by tapping the plus just to be sure. And let's set this layer to drawing assist. And then let's make a little like blank here, which is holding these cups. Move in this direction, another line, connect these two. So something like this. We are almost there. Now let's just pinch these layers together with all the extras. I think that's these. Here we have that. We can pinch that as well. So now we have all the extras. We have the furniture, and we have that base room layer. Now let's make a little cloth. Let's make a new layer just to be sure. And over here, let's make a little cloth moving down like this. And over here, we can't really see everything of our cloth. Little wiggly line here. So there's just a cloth hanging here on a shelf. We just need a few more things before we can move on to our line art. For instance, I want to add lamps. Now let's first make a new layer for that, and let's pinch these together. We can pinch this little cloth with the rest. Let's make a new layer, and again, let's make a circle. We should just have a little oval at the ready, but well, let's make a circle again. Tap one finger on the screen to make it a perfectly round circle like this. And go to the move and transform tool, then set it to distort and make it follow the grid. Like this. Let's make it, well, let's see. I think the size might be good like this. Let me zoom in a little bit. And let's duplicate this. So we'll go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool and move it upward to about here, I think. Then let's duplicate it again. So we'll go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool and make this smaller. No, I don't need distort. I need to set it to uniform, make it smaller like this, place it upward a little bit. So we'll have something like this. Then let's pinch these together. Tap the N, lower the opacity to 50%, tap the plus, and then let's make our lamp. Let's follow these rounded shapes. Follow this line, add a little line like this, and then let's make that top part like this. With a little extra line, little thickness there. Yeah, this looks perfect actually. All right, let's remove those guidelines. This layer, let's delete that. Now we have our lamp. Let's move it around by going to the move and transform tool. I want it to be perhaps somewhere, well, let's see what's a nice spot. Maybe we can make it a little bit smaller. And let's place it over here. Maybe we can move around some stuff later to make everything visible. Now let's go back to the layer, tap it, turn on drawing assist, and now we need a line moving upward. Now we need to make a line from the center here to about here. Then we can duplicate this by sliding to the left, tapping duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool. And then here under snapping, turn on magnetics and slide it in this direction to about here. Then let's go back to this layer where we have all the stuff. Let's move some stuff around. Let's go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, set it to freehand and turn off color fill. Let's move this, for instance. Let's just select it like this. Then go to the move and transform tool and place it downward just a little bit to about here. It's okay if it gets covered a little bit by the light. That's totally fine. I just want it to be a bit more visible. Then let's go back to the selection tool, tapping it twice. Select this thing. Go to the move and transform tool. Maybe we can make this a little bit smaller and place it about here. Let's turn off magnetics. So we'll place it about here and then tap the arrow again. Now I want to add a few jars here on the shelf. So first, let's merge these two lamps. I won't merge them with the rest. Let's make a new layer by tapping the plus. And again, we are going to make a circle. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen, then go to the move and transform tool. Set it to distort. Make it follow the grid. Like this. Then go to uniform here at the bottom. Make it a little bit smaller. Let me zoom in so you can clearly see it. This will be the bottom of the jar. Then we will duplicate this. So we'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, place this upward to about here. Then we'll duplicate it again. So we'll go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, make this smaller, place it upward. Now let's duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, make it smaller just a little bit, and place it a bit lower. I think this should work. Let's pinch these together, just these guide ovals, lower the opacity to around 50% and tap the plus for a new layer. Now let's follow this shape and make a little curve here. Then this side. Then this will be like that cork. I'm roughly following that guide. And we can make an extra little line here. So it should look something like this. Then we have like another oval inside. Let's just eyeball that a little bit. That's like the stuff that's inside of the jar. So something like this should do fine. Let's remove the guide ovals. Let's delete that. Then we have this layer with our jar. Let's move it around by going to the move and transform tool. Make it a little bit smaller. Let's place it on our shelf. Maybe one behind here. Then let's duplicate it, go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, place this one right next to it. Then let's duplicate it again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, place one over here, maybe this one's a little bit smaller. Then another one, duplicate it, go to the move and transform tool, and make an even smaller one here. Now we can go back to this bottom one. We can use the eraser and we can erase this part. And over here, of course, it's a little bit transparent, this glass, so you might see that through here. Then let's go to this one That's this one over here. And let's erase a little bit here as well. All right, now let's merge these together. And now finally, I want to add some baskets, some hanging baskets on this wall. It's a little bit empty. Over here, we are going to add a lot of plants later and a neon sign. So this will eventually fill up. Over here, I want to add some baskets. So first we need a circle again. So let's make a new layer by tapping the plus. Let's grab the brush, make a circle, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a nice, perfectly round circle. Then go to the Move and Transform tool, set it to distort, and make this follow the grid like this. Make it a little bit higher. You can change the shape a little bit. Let's go for something like this. So like this, then let's make another layer. Let's tap the plus, and here we'll make another circle. Let's grab the brush, draw a circle, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen. And then we are going to go to the Move and Transform tool, and we'll make this follow the grid as well. That's the top opening. And let's place it about here. Then we'll create a new layer on top. Let's tap the plus. Let's grab the brush. Let's first make a line following the grid like this. Then we have the top opening. And then we have a curve like this. So this is a nice basket. Turn off these layers to check it out. And now let's duplicate this. Let's just remove those guide layers, these two. Let's delete those. Then let's go to the top one here. Let's duplicate that by sliding to the left and tapping duplicate. Go to the Move and Transform tool. And let's make this one a little bit smaller. Turn on Uniform here. Make this one a little bit smaller. Then let's duplicate it again. Let's duplicate this bottom one. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, Move and Transform. Place this one over here. Maybe we can move the bottom one downward a little bit, but we can do that later. Now grab the brush and let's make another oval shape like this. Because this one is hanging in a different way. So just an arch and maybe a nail here. Now let's go back to this one. Let's go to the Move and Transform tool. Place this one downward a little bit and perhaps that one as well. That's the top one here. Go to the Move and Transform tool and place that here. Just arrange your baskets until you have something that looks pleasing. So now let's pinch these baskets together. We can pinch them with these jars. What do we have here? We have the lamps. Well, for those lamps, we can actually go to this layer with all the stuff on it, and we can erase some parts. Let's grab the eraser and erase this, for instance. And over here. And this. Yeah, this is looking good. So let's just pinch those layers together with all the stuff. So we have a layer for all the stuff. We have a layer for the furniture. Let's turn that up again, that opacity. And we have a layer for the base of the room. And now that we have everything here, it's time to go and create our line art. Now, since we have a lot of small stuff in our illustration, we are going to use a very small brush. And we might need to zoom in quite a bit, and this might result in some pixely lines. The canvas we're using is relatively small. I will stick with this relatively small canvas because I know that not all of you will be able to create enough layers when you have a bigger canvas. But if you do, and if you don't want your lines to be pixelated when zoomed in, I would suggest making your canvas a little bit bigger. You could go for 4000 by 4000, for instance. And that will enable you to add smaller details to your isometric room. You can do it by going to the wrench, then to canvas, then to crop and resize, then to settings, and then turn on resample canvas. And then here you can make your canvas bigger. Do keep in mind that your brushes will need to be a little bit bigger as well. You can't just go for my brush size if you are working on a bigger canvas. So now let me just tap done. Now for the line work, I would like to use the fine liner brush, which is part of the treasure chest brush pack. If you don't already have it, make sure to go to freefromflow.com. So I'm going to use the fine liner brush, and for the color, I'm going to use this color in the color palette. It's the 7th color in the 3rd row. And like I said, I'm going to make it really small. The opacity will be at 100%, and I'm going to set the size to a small 3%. And then I'll start with the base of the room. So let's turn these off. Let's lower the opacity of the base of the room to 30% and make a new layer on top. Let's do it on top of this one. Let's tap the plus. Let's turn on drawing assist here. And then just follow the lines that you already have here. So just go up here, for instance, make a line. I think you can barely see it because it's really thin. But just follow your sketch lines like that. Let me just do it magically here. All right, now that we have this, we can turn off the sketch layer of our basic room. And now let's continue and work on the furniture. Let's lower the opacity of that layer, so tap the N. Slide down to 30%. And let's also turn on all the stuff. Let's lower the opacity for that layer as well. Let's set that to 30% as well. And then let's make the line art on a layer on top of this one. Now for some of the furniture, you can definitely use the drawing assist, but there are also some things that I would like to add some more wobbly lines to. For instance, the pillows on this couch. You don't have to follow the lines exactly. You can make them a bit more playful, like this. Give them a little bit of rounded shapes, a little bit wobbly, because then you will get more of the idea of a pillow. You can leave some gaps in some places, make it a bit more playful. Just like this. Follow those sketch lines, but with some freedom. You can add some darker spots here, some shadow. And you can also add these little circles for some like buttons on these pillows. We'll do the same for the pillows that the people can sit on. Over here as well. Make it a bit more rounded. Little dark patch here. This is also a pillow. So add some rounded shapes there as well. And actually you can turn off the line art that we just created for the base of the room, or perhaps just lower the opacity to 30%. So that it doesn't distract. Then we have this little pillow. So again, rounded shape. Then over here, again, rounded shape. For the rest of the stuff here, you can pretty much follow the lines that we already have. Another object for which we won't follow the lines exactly are these pots up here. We're going to make a rounded shape at the top. These are like little jars. They have a top lid like this. This one as well, rounded shape at the top. Go downward, back up here. Here as well. And then the bottom part. Also a little bit rounded. So not exactly following that box shape. Another exception is this part of our counter. That glass part, we are going to use blue lines there for the glass. But for all the other lines, we are going to use this dark reddish brown. So continue following all the sketch lines until you have something that looks like this. Now, like I said, for the glass, for our counter, we need a different color. We are going to use this third color in the third row for that. So let's follow those lines and create that glass effect. There. Now we can turn off our sketch layers and we can turn up the opacity of our basic room layer. And these are all the lines that we need. So this is the perfect time to create a screenshot as a reference for yourself. Now that we have all our lines, it's time for the fun part. Let's start by adding some texture to our walls. Oh no, let's first start actually by changing the color of our background. Let's go to the layer menu, tap background color, and use this color over here, the first color in the first row. At this point, we can actually also just remove our sketch layers. We don't need those anymore. Let's just delete them. So we only have our line art layers. And to create the texture for our walls, we are going to use a photo. Let's go to the wrench, then to add, and then to insert a photo. And I have this textured picture over here, which we are going to use for our walls. Now make sure that you have it set to uniform here. Let's make this texture a little bit smaller. And now we need it to follow our isometric grid. So we need to go to distort, move it upward until the lower line follows our grid like this. Then let's move it downward a little bit so we can duplicate this first. Let's go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate. Oh, now let's select them both and drag them underneath the line art of our basic room. And just to make it easier on ourselves, let's turn off everything else for now. Let's go to the top one and turn down the bottom one. And let's place it on top of our wall. Move it around a bit. Let's go for something like this. Then let's go to the selection tool, set it to freehand, and we are going to select the outside of this wall. We are going to select everything here, outer edges, close the selection, then we'll go to the layer, tap it, and use mask. And now layer mask has been created and it'll only show this wall section. Then turn off the selection by tapping the S shape ribbon. And now let's do the same thing for the other wall. Let's turn this on. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool and flip it horizontal. Then let's move it. And let's place it like this. And we are going to make a selection again. So go to the S shape ribbon, then select the entire wall. And start here, go downward, go to this corner, just follow the outside and close it. Then we'll go to the layer, tap it, and use mask. And turn off the selection by tapping the S shape ribbon. And now we can pinch these two together like this. Now we have one layer with our wall texture. And then what you can do, now that you have it on one layer, you can go to the magic wand, then to use saturation brightness, and you can change the color a bit if you like. You can make it a bit more bright. I want it to be a little bit more light. Let's go for 55%. I'll keep this at 50. You can turn up the saturation a bit, make it a bit more warm. 56%, and then tap the magic wand again. Next, for our floor, we are going to add another photo. Let's go to the wrench, then to add, then to insert a photo. And then this time we'll pick this photo over here. Let's have it set to uniform. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And I actually like the diagonal look. I want these planks to be diagonal in our room. So I'll stick with this. Then we'll go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon. And now we are going to select our floor. So go from corner to corner to corner to corner and close it. Let's zoom out and then go to the layer, tap it and use mask again. And turn off the selection by tapping the S shape ribbon. And now we have a nice looking floor. Now we are going to use this same trick for some of our furniture. Let's turn that layer on with our furniture and then tap this layer to have our photo end up on top of our base room layer. First, let's add some marble texture to our counter. Let's go to the wrench, then to add, then to insert a photo, and then we'll select this photo over here. Again, we will need it to follow the isometric grid. So go for, well, first let's make it a bit smaller, then go to distort and have this line, move it downward until it follows the grid right here. And we can move it. And something like this looks fine. Then tap the arrow. Now let's just select this front side and this side of our marble. It's fine that this area isn't in the right perspective. You won't really see that. Let's go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon. Select the front side of the counter. You might need to take multiple tries. Try to make this tidy. Go along all the corners and then close it. Then go back to the layer, tap it and use mask. Now we are going to do the same thing for the top area of the counter. Let's import the photo again. We could have duplicated it first. I just forgot. So let's insert the photo again. Here's the marble. Then let's make it a bit smaller first. Since it's the top part, let's first rotate it so that this edge follows the grid, and then move it like this until the lower area also follows the grid. Then we can move it like this. Then we'll go to the selection tool again, S shape ribbon, and now we will select the top area. From corner to corner to corner to corner. Over here, close the selection, go to the layer, tap it, and use mask. Now we just can pinch these together. So now we have a nice marble counter. Next, we are going to add some texture to our bench area here. Let's go to the wrench and to insert a photo. Then we'll grab this photo over here. And we are going to use it multiple times. Let's first rotate it 180 degrees. Then let's make it a bit smaller. Make sure you have it set to uniform. So something like this. I want to use it multiple times, so let's duplicate it. Go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate, turn the top one off and go to the bottom one again. Then go to the move and transform tool. Let's zoom in a little bit, set it to distort and move this up like this. And let's make it align with the front part of our bench. So like this. Then go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon. And we are going to select all the areas that are facing forward. Over here, downward. Over here, we'll go along this pillow. We'll go here, downward, close it. Then tap the layer, tap mask, and this is looking perfect. Now we need another one. Let's turn this on. Let's duplicate it, turn the top one off and use the bottom one. Then turn off the selection, go to the move and transform tool and this time we'll move it in this direction. And now we need it to align to this area. Let's place it like this, then go to the selection tool and select the side area. Just tap into corners, close the selection, then go to the layer menu, tap the layer and turn on mask. And tap the S shape ribbon. Now finally, we need one that follows like the top part. So let's do that. Let's grab this one, turn it on. Now first we need to go to the move and transform tool and have it follow this line. We are working with the top now, so we need to rotate it first, then use distort and make this follow that grid as well, like this. Then we can move it like this. Try to find a logical place, something like this. Then tap the arrow, then tap the S shape ribbon. We are going to select all the top facing parts. Let me lower the opacity of this layer a bit so we can easily see it. Then go to the selection tool. Again, select this top facing area and this. Let's just select the outer parts like this. Then this one, tap the corners. Over here we need to follow that pillow a bit. Close it. Then we can go back to the layer. Let's turn up the opacity first. Then tap it and use mask. Now our entire bench has this nice wood. Let's pinch them together. Now let's move on to our tables. We'll go to the wrench again, then to add, insert a photo, and then we'll use this photo over here. Let's first zoom out a little bit. Let's make this a little bit smaller. And then let's first rotate it because we are working with an upward facing plane. Then go to distort and make the other side follow the grid as well. Something like this. Then let's move it over here. Let's try to find a nice colored spot. Something like this. Then let's duplicate this. Let's go to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap duplicate. I want to use that later for the other table to have another angle for that one. Let's turn it off now and let's go to the bottom one. Then we'll go to the S shape ribbon and we are going to select these tables. Let's just select the side here and the top area and over here, then go down. Let's not select that area. Let's add a different texture there. Well, the same texture, but at a different angle. And this one. Create a selection and go to the layer, tap it and use mask. And tap the S shape ribbon again to turn off the selection and turn off the layers. This is looking great. Then for this one, let's turn this layer back on. Go to that layer, then to the move and transform tool and flip it horizontal. Then let's move it a little bit. Let's go for something like this. Then go to the S shape ribbon and select the top part and this side. Then go to the layer menu, tap the layer and use mask. Now finally, for those sides, let's import the photo again. Let's first merge these, pinch them together, then go to the wrench, then to add, then to insert a photo, and then let's import it again. Let's make it smaller. And then go to distort, make it follow the grid like this. You can see it here. And move it over the table. Then let's duplicate it, slide to the left, tap duplicate, turn the top one off, and go to the bottom one, go to the selection tool, and select these areas of the table. Go to the layer menu, tap the layer, use mask, then go to the top one here, turn it on. Then let's turn off the selection, go to the move and transform tool, flip it horizontal and place it here. Then go back to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, and select this area. Go to the layer menu, tap the layer and use mask. And tap the S shape ribbon, we can pinch these layers together. And now we can manipulate them a little bit. We can go to the magic wand, go to use saturation brightness. And maybe we can make them a little bit warmer. Like this. Maybe turn up the saturation. Make them a little bit lighter. Maybe even warmer. Let's check. Something like this. And let's turn up the saturation even more. Let's go for 75%. So these are my settings, 48, 75, 54. And then tap the magic wand again. Now we have added all the photo textures. Now we are going to add some color. We will be coloring all the different elements here. And we are going to start with some bigger elements. Let's make a new layer for those. Let's tap the plus. And for our color, let's grab this one over here. Second color in the first row. We are going to use that for the pillows here. And for the brush, let's go to the calligraphy brushes and use the script brush. This brush, it makes sticker lines as you press harder with your brush, with your pen, but only if you have a pen that has pressure sensitivity, of course, but it gives you some nice control. I have the opacity set to 100% and the size, let's set that to 6 or well, maybe 5. And of course, there are multiple ways to color areas. You could use the selection tool set to color fill, or you could turn on a reference here at the top layer and then drag and drop colors on this layer. But I'm going to fill these areas by creating an outline first along the edges of the object that I want to fill, and then I'll drag in the color. So for this pillow, for instance, I'll just follow the outline, trying to make it nice and tidy. And then once I have created that outline, I can just drag and drop the color in there. So I'll just follow these pillows, just like this. Go along the table. You might need to zoom in really far to make it really tidy. Try not to have any gaps. So just like this until you have an outline for the entire shape. And then once you have that, you can simply drag and drop the color to fill that area. Now, actually, we don't really need the isometric grid right now. So let's, for now, turn it off. Let's go to the wrench and to canvas and turn off the drawing guide. And then tap the wrench again. Now let's color some other elements. For instance, let's use this color for this as well. Then let's switch to a different color. Let's grab this color over here, the 5th color in the 2nd row. And we are going to use that for the tables, for instance. Let's zoom in a little bit and color these areas. Let me do the others magically. And then let's also color this little thing over here. We are going to use the 2nd color in the 2nd row for that. Let me do this magically as well. And then for this pot over here, we are going to use this color. That's the 6th color in the 2nd row. Now let's use this color for the pot over here. Just create the outline. Try to be tidy. Just like this. You can use the quick shape tool, of course, by holding your pen in place and then just dragging a color to fill this area. Now let's grab that previous color, actually, that 5th color in the 2nd row. I also want to use it for the register. So let's just create that outline. And if you are enjoying this, if you are having loads of fun with Procreate and following these tutorials, then you might want to check out Flow's big brush box. It contains more than 120 brushes, and it also has 5 exclusive tutorials in that box, and exercises, worksheets, lots of stuff. So go and check that out, because it's perfect if you want to learn more about realism in Procreate, for instance. The tutorials in there are great for that, and that will give you a project once you are done with this tutorial, of course. Let me also grab this brown, this one over here, last color in the 3rd row. Let's use it over here. Later we are going to add plants here, but I want a dark base on which we can draw our plants. This is some dirt in here. Let's drag that in. And now for the rest of our colors, let's make a new layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus and let's start with our chairs. Let's grab this color for that 3rd color in the 1st row. And let me just color these in magically. Then for the cups of coffee, let's use this 4th color in the 1st row. And let's color in all the cups. And let's also use this for this button over here, this little area, and maybe for what's inside this little jar. And for these pots over here. You can also use continue filling at the top to just tap in an area you want to fill as well. It does need a closed outline, of course. Let me also use this for this poster over here and this one. Now, like I said earlier, you can also use the selection tool, the S shape ribbon set to freehand with color fill turned on, to easily fill shapes that have straight edges. Just tap in the corners and easily fill this. And then tap the S shape ribbon again. Now let's move on to the next color. Let's grab this one, 5th color in the 2nd row. Let's use that for our coffee machine. We need to be careful around that button that we have just colored. You can do it like this. Create that outline. Fill it in. Just go along the edges until you have a shape that is closed, and you can drag in the color. Then for the lamps, let's use this color, the 6th color in the 2nd row. Let's color them in. Then let's move on to the next color. Let's use this color over here, the 6th color in the 1st row. Let's use that for these jars at the top, for their lids. Again, we can make a shape that you can close like this, then drag in the color. Let's also use this for a few of the pots. Let's just choose various colors for these pots. Let's make these two, this orange. Drag in the color. Then we'll switch to this color over here. That's the 8 color in the first row. Let's also use that for some pots. Drag in the color. Perhaps this one. Let's also use this for the coffee here. It's a nice coffee color. And yeah, let's use it for those top parts here. Let's color these all in. Over here. And this one. Then I also want to use it for these frames. Let's just go along the edges. I'm just coloring it in by hand. Along this edge. So you have a nice frame. Then for this one, let's do this one as well. There, maybe we can also color some of the pastries. Let's just create an outline. Drag in the color. Then let's switch the color. Let's move to this one over here. The 6th color in the first row. I use that as well. Drag in the color. And for this one. Then we have those. Let's use this color for that. 7 color in the 3rd row for the top part. And then let's switch to this color, the 9th color in the 1st row for that bottom area. And let's use this color for a button here as well. Then let's switch to this yellow 5th color in the 1st row. We will use that for this little button and for our little notebook. And we can also use it over here for this little plank, little shelf thing. Drag in the color. Check if you don't have any gaps left. Then for these, I want to use this color over here. 2nd color in the 2nd row. Let's color these in. Let's just make a shape like this so that it's closed, and we can drag in the color. Do the same over here. Might be a little bit hard to see because the color is a little bit like the color of the wall. Drag in the color. For this one, I want to add a little bit of brown. Let's grab this color, the 8 color in the 1st row. Let's add a little bit of that here. And a little bit over here as well. For the other one, we won't need it. We'll be covering it with big leaves. Then let's switch to this color again, 5th color in the 2nd row. I want to use it for this nail here. And then for the cloth, let's use the fourth color in the second row. Let's create an outline first. We have almost colored everything. Let's drag it in. Oh, we need some more pots here. Let's use this color. That's the seventh color in the first row. Let's color some more pots. This one. Now we need some stuff inside of these jars. Let's add this in this jar. Maybe in this one as well. Drag it in, and then this one, for instance, second color in the third row. Let's use that here. Then for this sign, we are going to use this color. That's the seventh color in the second row. Follow the outline. Drag in the color, fill any gaps. Then we have this part that also needs this dark color. Maybe we can make this dark as well. What are we missing? What are we missing? Over here, this little thing. Let's use, what shall we use? Maybe this color, fourth color. I don't remember using this color. Maybe we can use that. I think I might have forgotten some colors. It's so much to remember with such a long, big tutorial that it could be that I'm confused every once in a while. Now what we need is something inside this thing. First, I want to make a selection. Let's go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, then turn off color fill, then make a selection like this. Because when you have a selection, you can only paint, draw, or erase inside of that selection, and that's super helpful. Let's first grab a color like this one, for instance. Let's drag it in. Then we'll use our brush and we are going to add some more colors. For instance, let's use this, maybe the orange. That's the seventh color in the first row. And let's just make some shapes. We are going to make like this abstract wavy shapes artwork. We are also going to use some pink, that's second color in the first row. So we'll just make some random shapes. Or you can place another artwork inside here, no problem. Let's use this color as well, fifth color in the first row, for some more shapes. And then I want to go back to our fine liner brush. Let's just go to recent brushes here at the top. We can grab our fine liner and let's grab this color over here. That's the seventh color in the second row. And let's use that for some extra wavy shapes in this artwork. This is a whole, you can draw this on its own. There. Now we can turn off the selection by tapping the S shape ribbon. And have we colored everything? Well, almost everything. We need to color our glass. And we are going to do that on a separate layer. So first let's tap the plus. Then for the color, let's grab this one over here, the fourth color in the third row. And then let's color this area. Let me grab the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, set it to freehand, and then use color fill. And let's go along the outside to color this area. And then we are going to do the same for these jars, but we are going to grab the brush. We don't need a selection. And we are going to go over to here, because these are also made of glass. And we want that glass effect. Just go along the edges. Oh, I still have the fine liner brush. Let me switch to the script. I thought, hey, I see some texture. This is better. Drag in the color. Tap the brush. Then go to the layer, tap the N, and lower the opacity. Let's set it to 50%. Now let's add some more stuff to our wall. First, I want to add a little thing over here. Let's go back to layer 10. Let me grab the fine liner brush again. And let's also grab the dark color again, that 7 color in the second row. And I just want a cup of coffee icon here. So rounded shape like this. It has a little ear and some of these wavy lines. So very basic. Now over here, I want to add a text. So let's create a text first. And if you don't have the font that I'll be using, you can download it through the link that I have left in the description, or you can use another font or another text or other art in this frame, of course. Now to add text, you need to go to the wrench, then to add, and then to add text. And I would like to type always, enter time. Then I'll make a lowercase letter for, and another lowercase coffee. Then we'll go to the AA. We need to select everything. So double tap and then select everything. Then we need to tap AA again. This system doesn't always make sense. And then for the font, I would like to use the Quentin font. I have it right here. And then to make the words come closer together, you can adjust the leading. Just slide to the left to make them come closer together, something like this. Then we'll tap done. And right now we need our isometric grid again. So let's go to the wrench, then to canvas, and turn on the drawing guide again. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool, the little arrow, and we are going to make this a little bit smaller. Make sure it's set to uniform. And then use distort and drag this handle to make the text follow the isometric grid. And then tap the arrow. I want some text over here as well. I want the text coffee bar. I want a very light color for our text, the 4th color in the first row. We'll go to the wrench again, then to add text, and type coffee bar. You can't really see it right now, but you'll see it later. Let me move this a little bit so you can see it a little bit. Then go to AA, or no, first we need to select everything. Then you can tap Quentin here. So this opens up. We're going to turn this on so all our letters are capital letters. And then we'll scroll up to Din Condensed. Where are you? There, Din Condensed. Now we have our text coffee bar. Let's go to the move and transform tool. And let's first make it a little bit smaller. It's set to uniform. A little bit smaller so it fits. And then go to distort. We might need to zoom in a little bit, otherwise we can't. Drag the handle, make it follow the grid, and place it in the center here. And tap the arrow, and that's it. I'm happy with these texts, so we can actually merge them with this color layer. Just pinch it together. And now let's create our neon sign. We are going to use the text option again, so we'll go to the wrench, then to add text. And here we'll write coffee is life. Coffee with a capital C, coffee. Let's change the color. Let me double tap here, then go to the color and use this color over here, the 5th color in the 3rd row. Now let's continue. So coffee, lowercase I, is, and then life with a capital L, like this. Let me move it to this area. Now let's double tap to select everything if it wants to. All right, then tap here. And for this font, we are going to use Falling Button. I have it over here. I have linked it in the description. I just want to play around with the letters a little bit. I want these to be closer together, so we'll tap here, then tap AA, And then we'll use the kerning here. We'll slide to the left a little bit so that it touches the L. Now tap over here, right next to the I, and then tap the space bar just one time so it moves a little bit to the right. Maybe one more time. Now we can select everything again, and let's lower the leading a little bit. Let's tap AA and lower the leading just a little bit. Like this. Maybe we can move is live even more. Let's tap here, tap the space bar, and now we can move it closer together even more. Let's double tap, select everything, tap AA, and turn down the leading just a bit more, like this. Then let's tap the arrow so we can move and transform this, make it a little bit smaller. And then let's use distort and make this follow the isometric grid. And place it about here. Then tap the arrow again. Now let's create a little neon sign effect. Let's duplicate this layer. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate. Then we'll go to the bottom one and set the layer blending mode to add. It's a great blending mode for light, so tap the N, scroll down to add, and then we are going to blur this layer a little bit. We'll go to the magic wand, tap Gaussian blur, and slide to the right. Let's go for, let's say 7%. We'll go back to the layer, tap the A, and we'll lower the opacity to around 50%. Then we'll duplicate this layer again, this top one. So we'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, and we are going to change the color of this one. We'll tap the layer, then turn on alpha lock. Then we'll switch to this color, sixth color in the third row. Then we'll tap the layer again, use fill layer, and then we'll turn off alpha lock. So tap the layer, turn off alpha lock, then tap the N and set this layer to add as well. Then we'll go back to the magic wand, use Gaussian blur, slide your pen to the right, and let's set it to, well, let's say 9%. Now we have a nice light effect. Let's get out of here. The next thing we'll do is create a little rug for our coffee corner. We'll do that on a new layer. Let me just group these neon sign layers, by the way. Let's select all three of them, then use group and close this. Then let's make a new layer by tapping the plus. Let's actually drag this on top of all the others for now. Then let's grab a color. Let's grab this color over here, first color in the second row. And let's create a circle. We can also do that by going to the selection tool, then using ellipse, setting it to color fill, drag like this, and then tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And now let's make sure that this circle is in the exact center of our canvas. Let's go to the move and transform tool, go to snapping, turn on snapping, then move it around until you see these orange lines. So that you know that it's in the perfect center. Then let's make a new layer on top. Let's tap the plus, then set this layer to clipping mask so that whatever we draw here, it'll only show up on our little rug. Then for our brush, we are going to use the fine liner brush, and for the color, we will use this one over here, third color in the second row. And we are going to use the symmetry tool. Let's go to the wrench, then to canvas, then to edit drawing guide, and then turn on symmetry here. We'll go to options and use radial. Now we can tap done here. Make sure when you go to your layer that it's assisted. And now we can add a little pattern here. I'm just going to make some lines like this towards the outside. And over here as well. And then some triangular shapes right here. And maybe a few diamond shapes. You can make whatever pattern you like for your rug, of course. You can fill some with color. Maybe these in the center. So now we have a very simple rug pattern. But like I said, you can use anything. And now we can turn on the isometric grid again. Let's go to the wrench, then to edit drawing guide and turn on isometric again, then tap done, because of course we want our rug to follow the isometric grid. Once you're happy with the pattern on your rug, you can just merge these two together. Then we are going to go to the move and transform tool. And now we'll make sure that this follows the grid. Let me move it over here so we can see it easily. Let me turn off snapping here. Make it follow the grid. Now it's a bit harder to see right now because of all our furniture. You could turn that off. Just make sure that when you look at, we have an equal amount of blocks. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, that's fine. It's perfect. It's still like square, but not really square, but it has the proper ratio. I do feel like it's a little bit big maybe. So let's go to uniform and make it a little bit smaller. And I want to place it somewhere over here. Now let's go to the layer menu and drag it down until it's on top of the floor like this. Of course, it does need a little outline just like the rest of our line art. So let's go over here. I believe this is our line art. Oh, that's the floor line art. Let's place it on top of this one actually. Let's go to over here. Here we have our line art, of course. Let's turn off drawing assist. Then let's grab, well, we already have it, our fine liner brush, and let's grab the line art color. That's the 7th color in the 3rd row. And let's create a little outline for our rug. Maybe redo this. I do want it to be tidy. Then over here. That looks good. Now we can actually really turn off our drawing grid. So let's go to the wrench, turn off the drawing guide to properly see our little coffee corner. Now that we have pretty much all of our elements, it's time to draw the plants. And I want to use a little trick for that. We are going to adjust one of the PROCREATE standard brushes to do this. We will go to the illustration brushes, no, the calligraphy brushes, and we are going to the script brush. And we are going to duplicate this. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, then tap this new brush, and we are going to adjust this one. We are going to make it like a color changing brush. We'll go to the color dynamics, then we'll go to stroke color jitter, then we'll turn up the hue to 20%, and we'll also turn up the lightness to 10% and the darkness to 20%. I also want there to be more of a thin end to our brush stroke. So let's go to the taper option and under tip, slide to the left and set it to 40%. So we don't have a blunt tip, but it's more crisp. It's more thin. Then let's tap done. And then let's grab a color. We will grab this green color, but it will be color changing. So we will have different shades of green. So this is the 8th color in the 2nd row. Let's make a new layer and let's place that on top of all the others. So let's tap the plus over here. I have the opacity of the brush at 100% and let's set the size to 7%. And now we are going to create different types of plants. Let's make a line over here. And then let's make these lines towards that line. It's like a fern. And make another line like this. We can move out of our isometric coffee corner. Make it hang over here. You're nicely going to fill this all up. Another curved line. Perhaps a shorter one. Then one over here. Making these lines towards that center line. And over here, I'll make another one that has a similar shape. With these fern-like leaves. Short strokes towards that center line. Then over here for our pot, we'll make a similar plant. So first let's make a line like this. And then we'll make lines moving towards that center line. Another one in this direction. Because a cozy coffee corner just needs plants. Makes it look so cozy. We can go in front here and we can just erase parts later on. And one here. Let me erase this. Let's grab the eraser and keep it behind the counter. Then grab the brush again. And over here I want some hanging plants. So let's make a line going down. And then make these short strokes also towards that line. And you can see that each brush stroke has a slightly different color. So for each stroke, go towards that line. You can make multiple of these vines. Make some longer. Try to vary it up. You can make it a little bit wiggly. That looks good. Now for these plants, I just want a bunch of very small brush strokes, small leaves. Making these short strokes will give the suggestion of little leaves here. Then over here I want some rounded leaves. Covering that side. And because each color is a little bit different, each stroke, you get this nice separation between these leaves. Then over here I want these lines, and then again move towards that center line. Just like the vines around our Coffee is Life. And if your brush strokes are becoming too thick, just make your brush a little bit smaller. Some people just press a little bit harder on their pen. I'm using very light pressure. So I guess something like this. Then over here, I would like to make a little cactus, make it in one stroke. Otherwise, you'll get different colors. Then for this one, let's make some of these shapes, these longer leaves. Something like this. Here we have another cactus. Maybe some leaves like this. This one has some rounded leaves. Don't worry about that edge. You can just grab the eraser and don't erase too much. Make the brush a little bit smaller, 9%. And just erase that. And grab the brush again for some plants over here. Let's make some rounded leaves here. Just something like this. Then over here we can make some pointier leaves. And maybe this one just has these little round leaves. So just some dabs is enough there. Now over here we need some more plants, but I'm going to put those on different layers. Let's make a layer underneath this one. Let's first tap layer 5 here, then tap the plus. And now let's make some more rounded leaves. So a bit like this. A bit more like the shape that you think a leaf would be. So a shape like this. And one like this. A little line like this. Just choose your imagination. Create different types of plants. Let's create one over here as well. We're not making a super realistic piece here, so don't worry too much. Just add some nice little shapes. Add some lines, some extra color variety. And over here I want another plant, but I wanted to cover this one. So let's make a layer on top of this layer. Let's tap the plus, and then let's make some of these shapes. Long, a little bit pointy shapes. So I think this looks fine. Now we have all of our colors, all of our plants. It's time to add lighting and shadow, one of the most fun parts. We are going to start by adding some shadow to our ground floor and our walls. Let's just pinch these together. And then let's make a new layer on top of this. Let's tap the plus. And then let's set this layer to multiply. So tap the end, then scroll up to multiply. And we are going to lower the opacity to 40%. And this is where we are going to add our shadows. Let's also tap this layer and turn on clipping mask so our shadows won't show up outside of the shape. And then for our brush, let's grab the script brush, the regular script brush again. And then for our color, we are going to use this color over here, the second color in the third row. And now let's think of areas where there would be shadow. For instance, well, let's imagine that life is coming, not light, life. Yeah, coffee is life. Light is coming from this lamp, but also over here. Let's imagine light is coming from here, and we have some shadow right here on the floor. You can make a shape and then drag the color in, or you can make the brush a little bit bigger, perhaps 10%. The table will create some shadow, but also the chairs. So let's just color that area in over here as well. Just a little bit of a rounded shape around a chair here as well. Let's also add a little bit of shadow right around these plants. Just a wobbly line is all you need. Then let's add a little bit of shadow right here on that edge. A little bit on the floor where our plant is. Perhaps a little edge right around our what's it called? I knew the word earlier. The counter. The counter. And here we have a little shadow underneath this thing. Perhaps also on the wall. Let's just color it in. And let's also add a little shadow on the outside of our room. Just to get some variety there, we can just use the quick shape. And on this side, and this side. Are we missing something? Yeah, maybe the outside of this thing. And here around our plants, we can add some shadow. You really don't need a whole lot. Now let's move on to the objects. Let's start by merging these things together. The bench and the counter and the rug. We can merge those. They can be on one layer. And now let's tap the plus for a new layer on top. We'll set this to clipping mask. And I'll set this to multiply as well. And let's lower the opacity later. Let's first see what this does. Let's add some shadow here on the rug. Like this. And some shadow here on the side of this bench, this couch. Let's go along the outside, drag in the color. You can also, well, we can also use some shadow here actually on this side. Loop around, fill that with color. Let's also add some shadow here, right where the pillow is touching. And over here, underneath the plants. Then we also have the counter. Let's add some shadow in these areas, on this side and over here. Drag in the color, and now we'll lower the opacity a little bit. Let's go to the layer, tap the M, and let's set it to 50%. Or 49, doesn't really matter. Now let's do the same for these tables. Let's tap the plus for a new layer, set it to clipping mask, tap the N, and set it to multiply. Let's set this to 50% as well. Then we'll go along the edges. Make those a little bit darker. Maybe we can actually turn up the opacity here. So the edges should be darker, and we have a little shadow right underneath these cups. Like this. Let's turn up the opacity. Let's tap the M and turn it up to 70%. Then we'll move on to this layer. There we have like the pillows and a thing on the wall. Let's add a new layer by tapping the plus, set it to clipping mask, and tap the N and set it to multiply. Now, if you are running out of layers, then you can always just merge some of these layers, like this one, the multiply layer with the base layer. You can pinch them together to save some layer space. Now for the pillows, let's add some shadow here on the front side here and over here. Maybe this area. A little bit here on the edge. And perhaps this little edge. A little bit around these buttons. And where we have this crease. We could also have shadow here on the front side. Let's just do that. Drag it in and maybe over here. We are going to lower the opacity so it'll be more subtle. Add a little bit over here. Let's tap the M on the layer and let's set this to 30%. Now let's continue. Let's also add shadow over here on this side, for instance, and over here on this whole side. That'll be in shadow. This side, then a little edge underneath here. And over here. And we have some shadow, for instance, behind the coffee machine, underneath the cup, behind these jars. And I also see I missed a line here for our line art. Let me fix that. That's better. And over here, we have some shadow. And we also have the register. Let's add some shadow here. We have the pot. Let's give that some shadow too on the inside. You just want some nice color variety here. Let's also add some shadow to the top parts of the tables. Well, like the top parts of the table stand. Then over here, you can add some shadow on this side. And behind these little pots, they are casting a shadow. A little bit here on the inside. All right, see, I went over this area. Let me grab the eraser to remove that. So this is looking fine. Now let's move on to this layer where we have all the stuff. Let's tap the plus for a new layer here. Let's set it to clipping mask and let's set the layer blending mode to multiply. And now let's work on the chairs, for instance. It has some shadow here. That table is casting a shadow here on the back part, perhaps over here. Then on this chair. Back part here. Now for this one, also a little shadow at the top. Some shadow here. Then for the cups, a little bit of shadow also on the inside and on the outside. Let's lower the opacity already. Let's tap the M, set the opacity to 40% to make it nice and subtle. Then for these cups, a little bit of shadow. What else do we have? We have these pastries. Well, you can barely see that, so we don't need a lot of shadow there. for this coffee. For the cloth, you can add a little bit. These little pots, you can use a little bit. This one as well, just a little bit on the side. Perhaps this one on the side. The lamp, you can use a little bit over here. Perhaps on the top as well. And what else do we have? We have the pots here. Let's darken the top part and the side. You really don't have to be super tidy here. Let's add some shadow here on the side. We also have these cups inside. And next, let's also add some light. Let's first go to, well, let's go to this layer. We don't need to add a lot of light to the other layers. We can just start here. Let's tap the plus, tap that layer, use clipping mask, then tap the N and set this layer to screen. Then for the color, we are going to use this color, the first color in the third row. We are going to use this for the pillows, for instance. For the top part of the pillows here and over here. Now, this is way too light. We need to lower the opacity, of course. Let's do that. So let's go to the layer menu, tap the S, lower the opacity to 40%. Then let's also add some light to the top of the register. And we can also do that for the front parts of these shelves. Just like this. Now I do realize that I missed a shadow here on our coffee machine. Let's go back to this layer and I switch the color to this one, second color in the third row. And let's also add a little shadow here on the side of our coffee machine. And a little bit over here. Just like this. Then we'll add a light layer here as well. So tap the plus, set it to clipping mask, set the layer blending mode to screen, and then switch the color to the first color in the third row. Now we can add some light to our coffee machine to the top. And let's also lower the opacity. Add some light here. Let's go to the layer, tap the S, and lower the opacity to 40% before we continue adding more light everywhere, like on the cup, on these jars, front of these, little edge over here. There's a little bit of light on this little notepad, on our cloth, and on the chairs, of course, on the upper edges. Here at the top edges. It gives some nice color variety. And then of course we have the pots. And a little bit of light there. But overall we have some nice variety here, I think. Now let's start adding some final touches. I want to create a layer on top of all the others. So tap here and then tap the plus and set this layer to screen. And then for our brush, we are going to use our fine liner brush. First for our color, let's grab this one, fourth color and the third row. We are going to add a little effect to our glass. We're just making these lines over here, just diagonal lines to get that suggestion of glass. Then we'll switch to the green color, the 8 color in the second row, and we are going to use that to add some touches to our plants, like little needles for our cactus here, but also some lines on some of these leaves, little needles on this cactus. So you can just use it to add a few little tweaks, a few little touches to these plants. And it can just be little dabs, little lines, just like this. This one as well. You don't have to do that for each of these leaves. You can just add a few touches. And of course, after spending hours and hours on this drawing, you can spend a few hours more. You can add as much detail as you like. And right now, after all these hours, I do believe I can say that this is a record for these You Can Draw This tutorials. I don't think I have ever made one this long. Let's create some lines here. This is just to define these plants a bit more and separate them a bit from each other. Some lines on these. You know, these leaves, these fern-like leaves. Now I want to do the same thing, but then with a multiply layer. So let's make another layer. Let's tap the plus, then tap the N and set it to multiply to add some more detail to the plants. For instance, for this one, we can add some of these lines on the side. Over here, we can add a little edge. We can add some lines here. Or over here, you could also add the suggestion of some like little twigs. You can add as much as you like. You can darken these lines a little bit. And this is all on a separate layer, so you can always erase it if you end up not liking it. That's the great thing about working with layers. You can always remove them. So these are just a few little touches to make your plants look even better. Now for the final touch, we are going to add some final lighting effects before we can finally call this finished. First, let's make a layer on top of all the others. So tap the plus. Then for our brush, let's go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. And for the color, we'll use this one over here, the first color in the third row. Then let's zoom in a little bit. Let's have our brush set to 100% opacity and 100% in size. And then let's tap over here, maybe make it a little bit bigger here as well. This will be our light bulb. Then lower the opacity a little bit by tapping the N and sliding to the left. Then we'll grab our eraser and let's rotate. You know what? Let's tap the brush and then tap and hold the eraser to have it set to the monoline brush. And then erase this part. Then over here as well. Then go back to the layer, turn the opacity back up to 100%, and then we'll go to the magic wand, then to bloom, and then slide to the right to turn on these lights. Let's set it to 90%. Then we'll make another layer on top of this one. So we'll tap the plus. We are going to set this layer to screen. So tap the N, then scroll down to screen. Then we will go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, set it to freehand, turn off color fill. And let's start here at the edge. Make a diagonal line down, then loop a bit like this. Go back up here and go along the edge. Do the same over here. Diagonal down, loop a bit, back here and along the edge. Then we'll grab a different brush. We are going to go to the airbrushing brushes, use the soft brush. I have the opacity of this brush set to 60% and the size is at 40%. Now let's just go over here with this color like this. Then we'll tap the S shape ribbon. Then we'll go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur and slide to the right a little bit. Let's go for 5%. Then we'll go back to the layer. We'll tap the S and then we'll lower the opacity to, let's say, around 45%. Then let's also add some light effect here for our neon sign. Even though it's daylight, you won't see a lot, but let's just add a little touch of light. Let's tap the plus, let's tap the N and then scroll down to add, which is also great for lighting effects. Then again, we'll go to the selection tool. Let's select a little bit of the outside of our neon sign. Then go in this direction, loop a little bit, and then close it like that. Then for our color, we'll grab this one, the 6th color and the 3rd row, and we will still use that soft brush. And then let's go like this, adding some light. Then tap the S shape ribbon to turn off the selection, then go to the magic wand, to Gaussian blur, and slide to the right to blur it a bit. Let's say 10 or, well, 11%. Then go back to the layer, tap the A, and lower the opacity to, let's say, 25% to make it really subtle. And that's it. Wow, you have made it till the end. You should be really proud of yourself. I think it's great that you spent all this time with me, and I hope you are super happy with your end result. I can't wait to see it, so do be sure to share it. And remember, if you appreciate this tutorial, if you had a great time these last couple of hours, or maybe days, weeks, I don't know, and maybe you would like to support this channel to make sure that I'll keep creating these type of tutorials, you can do so for free by hitting that thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, sharing the video, or you can hit super thanks, of course, or become a patron and get to watch even more Procreate tutorials. I would like to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for the next tutorial.